What's going on, guys?
Whoa.
Welcome back to Talkin TV. Luke, it's a pleasure to have you here. This has
Hello.
become an unfortunate missed opportunity in the marketing department. I think we should have branded this as for the whole month of October, once a week, Luke and I will be getting together to discuss a bad movie because it really seems like week in and week out, unfortunately, all of these movies that we picked have been downright
Whoa, whoa,
terrible.
whoa. Speak for yourself. Okay. Swamp Thing 1982 has got the mojo.
You liked it?
All right. Let me ask.
See,
Let me ask. I don't make any opinions without consulting my advisor. What do you think? Oh, Dad. I thought it was a great movie. It was such a good movie.
she watched it with you?
No, but all I'm saying is
Can't lie.
she knows
Pops
good
can never
movies.
lie. All right. Well, hey, man, look, to each his own. And like I said in our Hubie Halloween review, I liked the film, although I recognized its flaws. For me personally, we've only really discussed bad films, borderline terrible films in regards to last week with The Witches. But before we jump too far ahead, guys, welcome to the channel. This is Talkin' TV and yet another installment in our month-long Shocktober community Halloween event. It's been a blast doing this each week for you guys. We've had a ton of content here on the channel. To name a few things, Luke and I did a Hubie Halloween review. We did a The Witches Roald Dolls adaptation review. Tonight, obviously, if you're here, we're doing a classic horror film, Swamp Thing, for better or for worse, as well as Dom and I, tomorrow night, the big kahuna, the watch along to end all watch alongs.
Oh
We are
God.
we are watching Halloween on Halloween. It is a full
Oh
costume
my
party
God.
event. We are giving away prizes. We have trivia and we have a lot of fun planned for you guys. We hope to see you there at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the channel. And if you are here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button. We actually just cracked 110 subscribers. We've
Yeah.
been growing like crazy this month. I really appreciate it. It's only been 8 months on
Give
YouTube
the
this day.
people what they want, Chris. Me and Luna. Give
I
the
mean,
people. Oh,
we
Chris, give the people what they want.
we did start growing when you started coming on, and we'll have to figure out something in regards to that. Maybe we'll do a book club or something. Luke and I have been tossing that idea out there as a way to get Luke on the channel more
Get
because he
Chris's
honestly
fan base. Tell him you want a book club.
I would love to do that. But yeah, guys, we cracked 110 subscribers. We could not be any more thankful. This is our 8th month to the day on YouTube. So in under a year to crack over 100 subscribers. I mean, we don't know what we're doing. This blows my mind. And thank you guys for being here and hanging out with us. And so, of course, yet again, I'm joined by Luciano R. Ferrara, otherwise
Oh,
known as Luke. And Luke, real quick, before we jump right into Swamp Thing 1982 for our review of a Wes
yeah,
Craven classic, why don't you tell the people
yeah,
a little bit about yourself if they don't already know?
cool. Hello, my name is Luciano. This is my dog, Luna. She goes by many names. Um, Swamp Thing is not one of them, unfortunately. Although that's a pretty good one. Now that I'm thinking about it, we might have to adapt that. Stonk Thing is pretty good. But anyway, yeah, my name is Luciano Ferrara. I am a writer and a musician and all that. I feel like they're all kind of the same thing at this point. I play in a band called The Ensuing Disaster. I write for a website called The Alternative. We can be found at getalternative.com. We are a music and independently funded by Patreon and our subscribers and things. So if you happen to be the intersectional person who is watching this and is also an alternative thing, oh, I'm actually wearing my good looks. Good to see you. But you can check us out at getalternative.com. If you like what you see, you can support our Patreon. You can find a lot of my articles of The Alternative along with some fiction work and a few odds and ends on my portfolio, which can be found at Luke Ferrara, 1734.journoportfolio.com. I'm sure you can just look up my name, Journo Portfolio. Google's pretty easy.
And I'll make it
And
even easier for them. And all the links that you've brought up have been and will continue to be in the description of this video.
sweet.
So click down below, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, sorry,
And
I didn't want to cut you
I'm a
off, man.
huge
But
comic nerd, so I'm very,
mhm.
very excited to talk about Swamp Thing in relation to I really like the DC character and the kind of like mythos. So I then was at a coffee shop one time and I bought novelization of this movie for $3, and I read it, and it was really wild. And so then I saw this movie, and it was just like reading it, like, does it, like, it's pretty crazy to read it, but like to watch it, like, happens so quickly and not over the span of like multiple, because there's added, like, you know, I tried reading it along to the movie, and there's a bunch of weird added stuff. It's very strange, but it doesn't, like, there's no the same experience.
Being you know, being such a comic guy as you are, and as people hopefully on the channel will learn in time. We'll have to figure out some logistics, but I'd love to make something like that happen. You know, have you read Alan Moore's Swamp Thing?
So I've read a couple of random issues of like Alan Moore's, just like one-offs, like Brother Voodoo's and stuff, or as in Papa Voodoo, I think, or no, Papa Midnight is the guy. I can never remember if like Brother Voodoo is the really racist one from Marvel or the really racist one from DC. I feel like generally they're all the same. But I really like he's in like Justice League Dark a lot. And I've read more of Len Wein's Swamp Thing, but I really didn't get into comics too much until DC Rebirth. And then at that point, Swamp Thing was part of a lot of Constantine, like Hellblazer or Constantine, I'm not sure. And Justice League Dark, which are like, I really like those properties, and I like the magic part of it. So that was a really interesting like jump into like the green for me. I'm also a big fan of Earth 2, the New 52's Earth 2 run, where the Green Lantern of that world is like this is similar to Swamp Thing. He taps into the green. So like I like that mythos.
Okay, yeah, no. So I was curious because I am not sure why StreamYard imposed that comment there, but also I am someone who is familiar with Swamp Thing through association. And what I mean by that is I haven't actually read any of his standalone titles or watched anything standalone of his. I know there's actually a CW show airing right now that seems to be catching some steam and is a little popular among the fan base. I'm hesitant to jump into. No, it's airing as we speak. Like they brought it back.
I mean,
it's
cool.
happening right now.
I'm sure I'll be ripping that off the internet somewhere.
Yeah, check it out. But so I've only really seen him through Justice League Dark, the animated films and the animated series.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, reading and watching him. So this was my first.
Fact, they ruined Deadman. He is not like a weasel guy. Deadman is one of my favorite characters. That's some bullshit. Anyway.
Yeah, no, we don't need to get into that. That is another bad film we could talk about. For as much as I do enjoy it, I mean, it's just like it's problematic, and I think that this film was problematic. So let's dive in now. Let's talk about Wes Craven's classic 1982 Swamp Thing. Well, Luke, what are your initial thoughts and reactions to this movie?
Okay, so like I said it to you earlier, but I'll say it again. My one sentence review for this is like, it starts out like the movie Commando, and it ends like the movie Labyrinth with David Bowie, because it's kind of like the guy's got the Rambo like headband on. They're like going through the swamps. It's like all these like really cool like outdoors. I love this. The scenery is really, really cool. Like I'm sure filming it was awful, but like it was really cool.
I had that thought so many times.
Yep, and like they wearing all the leaves and stuff, and they're out in the camouflage. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. This is like not the movie I thought it was gonna be. This is kind of like an action thriller. And then like it turned into like this weird like, you know, monster fight. The guy turning into like a small monkey person. Like I was not expecting that. That was really strange.
That was jumping a little bit to the end. Poor Bruno suffers a bit of an unfortunate circumstance.
I mean, he's the guy that feels bad in the beginning, but he's still a dick. He still did everything. So
yeah, that's true. You know, it's for me, this movie was something that I was actually like, okay, cool. Like Luke suggested this film. I put him through The Witches last week, so he definitely gets to get something that he wants. And so I was like, let's check it out, because like Wes Craven, he's done classics like Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street. You really can't go wrong if you're a horror fan. It's Halloween month, spooky season, Shocktober, if you will. And so I was like, let's go. Let's check this out. Let's see what this thing's all about, right? And I was super disappointed from jump, to be honest with you. I mean, it had so many of the corny beats, and those are fine. Yeah, I would have been like the helicopter scene in the beginning. You know, you better hope the swamp doesn't eat you, or something like that.
Oh,
like
this isn't Vietnam.
Yeah, like
Like, yeah,
where's there a good restaurant around here? And it's like, oh god, you knew what you were
you're
in for
the
though.
restaurant. Like, I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
great.
Like you knew what you were in for. I looked up the budget for this film. It was made on $3 million. That is pretty impressive. They quite literally are running through an actual swamp throughout
Mhm.
the entirety of this thing, diving in the water
Yeah.
without like the best gear for trudging through a swamp.
Yeah, I
So
mean, they have
I
two boats
respect
that they
them for
blow
that.
up. So, like, they blew up both of those boats.
I respect them for
In,
that. I mean, there's
in what
leeches
is the
in the swamp.
greatest,
There's
like,
mosquitoes. There's a bunch
I
of
love that
ticks and
he's,
stuff.
I love that boat scene that, like, I was thinking about it the whole time, and I'm like, I wonder if they'd call this a superhero movie because he's not like he has powers. He is just kind of like a really big guy. He's not doing anything. He's driving a
No, I
boat.
don't think this was considered a. I think this was more of a creature feature, if anything.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah,
It's so great. I love those.
but
Like, I
so it
I
had
was
charm.
surprised.
Yeah, go for
I'm
it.
sorry. I was surprised. This is like Ray Wise's like first like major film. Like, I mean, actually, I looked it up. I think it's his second. There's one where he. Hold on, I wrote it down. I wrote notes because there were things I really wanted to talk about. And last time I went off the rails. But okay, so this is his second film role, but it's the first one since 1969 where he plays a priest who is tempted by a woman to like a guy who's like about to become a priest, and he's tempted by
Okay,
sex.
so
1969.
this is his. Okay, wow. So this is his second role from that
Yeah.
part, and
Like,
that's a pretty interesting part to have. And then, you know, what? 13 years later, jump into Swamp
half
Thing.
a movie of Swamp Thing. Like,
Oh, that's awesome, dude. I
yeah,
mean,
it's pretty
look,
crazy. I know that guy. He sounds so familiar. It's like when I saw Danny DeVito in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for the first time. I was like, whoa, that's not Danny DeVito. Like, who's that guy?
listen, I wasn't upset with the performances. I knew what I was getting from the
Yeah.
jump. They tell you right away, like, hey, this has B movie feels, B movie quality at best. It's a little unfortunate that it's a B movie coming from Wes Craven, who's
Yeah.
an iconic horror director. And at this
I think
point,
it's good. I like it. Like, there's okay.
and at this
Wes
point,
Craven
he
monster.
had already some success under his belt with The Last House on the Left being in the 70s, and it's like, okay, so sure that was a cult classic, and sure it grew over time, but it's like that's the only other one of his films I've seen. I haven't really checked out the Screams or the
Okay,
Nightmare on
but
Elm Street.
you're a director hot off of something else, like, and you get offered like, I don't know, who's your favorite DC character? Like, what comic
Easy,
character?
Aquaman.
Okay, you get somebody comes up to you and is like, "Hey man, listen, we got the guy who played the Horse Lord. He's gonna be Aquaman. We need you to cover this. Here's a rubber suit. He looks like a fish. This is what we got. Would you do it? Because I would do it. I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Okay, rubber fish suit. Let's go."
No, yeah, you're not wrong. Like I just think he has the track record and the skills to have done a better job. So when I say this movie's problematic, right, I'm not upset with the actors' performances. I don't think they're great, but I think they did what they were given with the script that they had in front of them. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like a strong
It's
script because
Yeah,
if I hadn't seen this cookie cutter formula before, I would have been confused. But it was so easy to predict the next beat. But goddamn, they didn't do a good job at all of tying things together.
Okay,
I mean,
so
it really just jumped around and it was so loose, but it followed such a similar structure where it was okay. But had they actually had more interesting and challenging ideas put in this film, you definitely would have been confused with this execution, getting from point A to point B, beginning to end, if you will.
I think like when it came to the way that the movie was written, like that, like you're talking about, like, oh, he's a good guy, and so they had to introduce like this in the beginning to justify like him having the weird romance with her in the beginning, which also for comic fans, Alice, the Cable character is actually like a female version of Matt Cable, who is just the guy who like guards Alec Holland, and then he dies, and he's like just a bodyguard, like an agent, like who's just their friend, kind of. So he's got the weird romance going with her. He kisses her in front of his wife, who's like, oh. So I'm like, oh man, is he just in like a polygamous relationship. I guess that's okay. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's to justify that he would care enough about her to come back and like save her, because that's the only reason he really does anything. Is it like, he doesn't care about his research or whatever, you know, he like throws the book away. So I think like to set up that necessary dynamic of like he's the beast saving the damsel in distress, even though she's supposed to be a federal agent, like what, how are you in that much distress all the time? But he's gonna protect her, so they introduce that romance, which really confuses me, because then he has the scene with like, and this is again like you're talking about like that kind of cookie cutter thing. It's like, this is where we feel for the monster. He has like the locket scene or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like the tree, which I think is supposed to be his wife, like the pink leaves and stuff, which I actually thought would have been a great scene if the tree wasn't so obviously fake.
It looked like shiny plastic.
It was.
It was
you
so.
just see the glare on the leaves in the trunk. I was like, "What's up with that?"
Yeah,
trunk?
it was like silicon little confetti pieces. You know, like here. So you raised some interesting points, right? It just felt rushed, you know, and I think it felt constrained and restricted by the budget, because sure, what they wanted to do was show you this guy's lost a lot, and then he loses his sister right in front of him, and that locket is the last remains of his sister, and
that's his wife, bro. What do you? Hold on. The blonde woman is his wife.
Oh, sorry, I got that confused. Then I just, you know, like, so he loses his wife in front of him, whatever. Just I was calling her the sister. She's supposed to be the tree, but it just never felt urgent. Like there was always such predictability within it, and I definitely just didn't appreciate it at all. And like also when he grabs, well, hold on, if that's his wife, then he just grabs that other woman. I thought it was his sister, dude. No. That was his sister, because he grabs the other woman when she gets there and makes out with her right in front of the blonde woman.
I don't think so, bro. I'm pretty sure that's his wife.
I'm gonna start using actor and actresses' names right now, because we're getting this all wrong. But it is 100% his
wife.
Nope, there's a whole scene where they say, yeah, like, you know, like growing up, like, you know, mom always so-and-so better. That was his sister, dude.
I don't think so, dude.
He's not that much of a savage to make out with another woman in front of his wife. That would be ridiculous.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh man, he's got it. Like, what's he doing?
Not at all, dude.
Okay, all right. Well, that changes a few things in my mind, but
yeah, I'm looking it up. That is his sister.
Thought that was his
so wife. Now, how does that make you feel, Luke?
She said his
like
wife.
I didn't know what I was talking about.
His wife. He doesn't correct her. Like no one corrects her.
Making me feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. And that's the problem. This movie is so easy to execute on. It's a script we've seen so many times, and yet you're confused while watching it. This exactly exemplifies my point.
Hi, puppy. This brings up another question I have. The guy who Arcane is pretending to be, he takes off the mask, and he's like, that guy's been dead for a while. Doesn't she call that guy?
Did your dog just knock to get out? That is actually hilarious, dude. Oh my god, that is podcasting gold if your dog just knocked to get out midstream.
She just slammed her head into the thing. She's gonna do the same thing to get back in. She's just gonna walk
is hilarious. No, I love how dogs do shit like that. Yeah, but what were you saying?
The guy, he takes off the mask and he's like, that guy's been dead. Okay, I don't remember what his name is. She calls like whoever she works for, and they're like, oh, we'll put you through to that guy, and she's like, I thought he was like KIA or he went AWOL or something, and they're like, no, I'm pretty sure he's right here. Like,
it was so loose and so poorly executed, man. And to be honest with you, I appreciate them for choosing a swamp. But that was just such a boring looking environment to be in the whole time.
It was like every scene was exactly the same. Like I said, it was really cool setting for exactly what it was. And I love, and just because we're on the topic of it, and this is just like, I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on like in that other Halloween movie we did, but I recently played a D&D character where I was Bigfoot. So the classic Bigfoot imagery of just him walking by everything like this. Like,
dude, yeah, for real. So cryptid.
I love it. That came up like a couple of times. There were a couple of times where he just walked across the thing, and I was like, "Yes, Bigfoot." So, yes.
I think we've kind of spoken about how these characters, while they worked with what they had, were confusing to understand their emotions and their motives because this script and this execution was pretty poor. So I kind of wanted to jump into another topic, if you will, indulge me, in regards to how Swamp Thing looked. What'd you think of that?
Okay, all right. So I love that, like, it's just a rubber suit. Like, I thought that was just great because they weren't afraid to show you that. Like, when they first show him, I mean, they pretty much show you all of him. You know, like when he's grabbing the guy and he dunks, you see his face.
There was no mystery there.
Yeah, okay, because I like that they didn't like do it purposefully. They would cut, hey, here's his legs and here's his arms, and then he's in the bushes with her. They never showed his face like straight on. So like the first time you get like his kind of like reveal, and it's just like it looks like a diver's suit. Like he's got like the helmet, right? So then you're like, oh, this is cool, but also like, I mean, I don't know, you could have glued some vegetation to it. Like you got like the Swamp Thing design that I like is like he's got the facial hair that's the overgrown vines, and he's got like it is like straight back like his head, but you see a few things growing like up and out of it. It's like that's not that hard to do, even if you only did it in scenes where he's not like fighting or like doing strenuous activity. Like if he's in the water or something, like just cover him in moss. Like that's all you have to do. Literally cover the suit in moss, and that's it. You're good. He's already in the water. So I just think like it could have been really cool, even though it was a rubber suit. But like, and it's 1982. I get it. Like, but people were doing better things than that. Like
so much better things than that at this point in time. I mean, it also was the $3 million budget it was made on. That is not a lot of money.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's like, I mean, that's really excessive.
That is penny pinching, to say the least.
They spent it all in the Ganondorf cosplay at the end.
Dude, they really did. They really put their budget in that last sequence for sure.
Okay,
so you know, I didn't mind
monsters. I want to talk about the hog monster thing. I want to talk about him turning into the hog monster because, first of all, he turned into a cocoon first. No one else did that. No one else did that.
But I think it was because he was more evil, so he had to harness.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, this formula I made from plants that turned me into a plant has nothing to actually do with plants. It just takes your essence. This is where it turned into Labyrinth. I mean, this is where it turned into Labyrinth. That guy turned into a monkey person. Like, he was in a dungeon and he regrew his arm with the sunlight, which is the only Swamp Thing power he had. I just like, it's the only thing he could do that was like Swamp Thing. And then that guy turned into Ganondorf. Like, he was a hog monster with his sword. Like, he grabs a sword off the wall. I was like, and that stayed till the very end, as if it was an iconic sword. That scene where it's like he stabs it and you see that shot and it's like, here's the hilt of the sword. And it's still shaking because he just put it into the ground, not the guy. Like, that's not an iconic shot unless the hilt means something. It's just a sword that he grabbed off the wall, and he just like is in this hog suit. Like,
yeah, so and you know, not only was I think the writing poor, I thought the filmmaking in general it just didn't make anything exciting. Like even that last opening sequence with the exploding boats and you know like these crazy new costumes and these
I like the
reveals that are supposed to. It was okay. It was the best part.
I was like, oh, here he comes. I was like, what's Swamp Thing gonna do?
I mean, look, okay, so there's two ways you could watch this film, all right? You can watch this film and be like, all right, well, classic, iconic character, Wes Craven. I'm looking for top-tier filmmaking on a budget. I'm looking for someone who took limited resources and made something incredible. And I'm looking for some wild art that was made out of just passion because, hey, this is a horror film in the 80s and the genre was very much so still really emerging as a powerhouse play. You could look at it like that. And if you look at it like that, the way I looked at it, that's how I looked at it, I think you'd be disappointed. But you could also buy a six-pack, have a couple friends over, and really just let loose and like sort of like, you know, what do they call that? Mystery science theater, this thing, which I think is more so the route that I wish I would have went in with the mindset of. I think I would have enjoyed it a little more, but I had like this whole built up preconceived notion in my head where I was like, oh, okay, cool. Wes Craven. I remember seeing Last House on the Left in film school. I liked it. Haven't seen anything since. Maybe this will open a floodgate. Like I put high expectations on this thing, and I think that's where I fell short.
I love it. It's just like thinking about it. It's like, yeah, man, this crazy director Wes Craven using star wipes and
dude, the star wipe killed me. Okay, and that's what I'm talking about, dude. That's what I'm talking about why I brought up the filmmaking. It's so
the windshield wipe.
It's so sloppy and so unneeded, dude. The star wipe in the third act when things are supposed to be heating up and ramping up to this big climactic conclusion. You're gonna hit me with this. Imagine if I star wiped right now? That would be the dumbest thing ever. There is never a time to use a star wipe. Dude, think about this. You remember all those names at the end of the movie?
No.
Okay, well, I kept the credits on because they had like, the B-roll of the swamp in there, and I was like, whatever. I paid for this. I rented it on YouTube. I'm gonna get my money's worth out of it.
I also rented it on YouTube.
So how great was that 480p quality?
Yeah, I was like,
what the hell was that?
Max, baby, let's do this.
They really couldn't have ported it any higher quality. But I mean, all those names at the end of the film. Think about this: they greenlit the star wipe. In a way, every single person on that project was okay with the star wipe.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got to get from one scene to the next scene. What better way to do it, right? It looks as fast. Let's do it.
But like, we got to talk about this real quick. Like, do you think it made it better or worse that we paid for this and we only were given 480p quality? I mean, I guess in a way it made it feel more authentic. Also, we're dumb. We should have communicated. We could have, we didn't have to both rent it. I thought you were a torrenting guy. Otherwise, I would have been like,
well, I like Swamp Thing.
Fair enough.
He doesn't go to Swamp Thing, so I should probably pay my shit.
Damn, dude, that's hilarious, dude. But like, yeah. So the 480p quality, Luke. The 480p sound.
I mean, what are you gonna expect? It's like, the Wilhelm scream when he throws the guy out of the boat. Oh!
I know, right? Like, geez, man. But no, on a more serious note, let's sort of talk about like the hero's journey, if you will. I mean, predictable.
Who? Jude's the only hero, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, no, I think Swamp Thing kind of had like the hero's journey, where he's like sacrificing his own self for the good of his fellow man in the end. And unfortunately, he never gets what he wants. I just think it was done poorly, but I think it could have resonated so much more. But like, what's your take on like the Swamp Thing character and his like journey throughout the film? Is I guess what I'm asking.
Well, I mean, classic Swamp Thing is like. I mean, that kind of happens. That's pretty much what happens. Is like there's like people come for his formula. There's like a lab accident, and it's like he just ends up like dying, and that's it. And there's no like, and then he returns and saves the woman who like survived there. So like he's a tragic character to me. And if you read James Tynion's Justice League Dark run, you will see a very similar arc in the I think it's the Flower King or the King of Petals or something, and it's really, really sad, but it'll explain exactly what I'm talking about. That Swamp Thing is like a tragic character who like was trying to do some kind of like good humanity. I mean, he's doing like a humanitarian thing. He's trying to get plants that will grow like that. So I mean, you could do so much with that in terms of like world hunger, right? So he's kind of like that.
His intentions are good.
And what ends up happening is people want it for their own means. He gets burnt. And in response, he is kind of like forced forever to be the Avatar of the Green, right? He's kind of forced forever to be Swamp Thing. This guy is like, I mean, yeah, the same thing happens really. But his motivation for coming back is not because this isn't DC Swamp Thing. Like, his motivation for coming back is, well, I can't let her die because we kissed in my lab. And like, so he's got to come back constantly to like keep an eye, like, watch out for her and do that. So it's hard for me because at that point that's where it diverges for like me to think of it as Swamp Thing. Now it's like spin off Aiken to Swamp Thing, and his motivation is now save this person. Don't let these people get his notes. And then and he does it. I mean, he really like he comes back. He's not shunned by her really. So the hero's journey of it is like he's not forced out of like, I mean, he is forced out of his place, but he's not shunned. So it isn't like this conflict in getting back to it. And what was the end result ever going to be, in that like he got the offer to, I mean, I don't know, do whatever he wanted to do, like finish his work with her. I mean, he got offered the culmination and then instead was like, nah, you gotta go like tell people what happened with absolutely zero evidence, which I could provide 100% of. I'm gonna wait in the forest because I'm disgusted by my hands and myself. So you come get me when you're ready and I'll see you soon. And then, by the way, spoilers, there's a Swamp Thing too. She does not return.
Wait, they have a second one of this?
Yeah, it's like a direct to video. Was it Dirk? Durkow, right? Is his name, or Dick Durkow?
But it's like the same cast members returning.
No.
It's the same. It's this same Swamp Thing universe. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, no to the first thing. Yes to the second thing. No, it is not. That woman never. Cable never comes back. Jude never comes back. They don't. They're gone. Like they never return. But Swamp Thing comes back, and it is
Same actor as Swamp Thing,
and it is Dick Durkow playing Swamp Thing.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's really weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Even more things to just be confused about. Yeah. So I kind of wanted you to overanalyze the hero's journey there, because I was hoping that you would agree with me in regards to like, sure, that's all noble and that's all fine and that all makes sense. But did you ever really care about those actions?
Oh, no.
I would say no, because their bond was so weak and so just poorly done that I could care less. You know?
If you're asking me what I think about like his motivation, again, Swamp Thing had the motivation of, hey, we're the Parliament of the Trees, so guess what? You're the Swamp Thing. You're the Avatar now. You're Swamp Thing. Like, that's it. And he was like, well, fuck. I can either be nothing or I can be Swamp Thing. This guy is like, oh, these bastards aren't getting my formula and woman that I met today.
Yeah, so like, true. So how's the book hold up then in comparison? I got to assume it's 10 times better,
it's
right?
like, I kind of thought that it had nothing to do with the movie.
Really?
Like,
okay.
Or not nothing to do with the movie. I kind of thought it like got crazy because it's a book and it had to get crazy to be longer. But no, it turns out like pretty much most of the stuff is exactly, it's pretty much the same. Like I didn't think he was going to turn into a hog monster, but I'd never seen it. I'd never seen him turn into it. That's why I didn't think he was going to do it. Because there's like pictures of on set, but there's not like crazy spoilers. So yeah, I mean, it like, I was also surprised by like the actual amount of like sexuality going on, like her skinny dipping while he watches. I didn't think that was going to happen either. That actually happened.
Yeah, that was weird. They were both just like totally cool with it.
She's like Princess Leia into like a dress.
Dude, exactly. It's like, hey, we just met. Like that, I think, did that movie take place over the course of a day? I feel like all those actions happened to her in like her first day.
Like 2 days. Yeah, like 2 days. Like she got there.
So she's just skinny dipping in front of him 2 days later.
And shows up for a job in a place she doesn't want to be, meets a guy who makes sexual advances on her, but also finds a way to make vegetation.
Instantly just goes for it.
Mm-hmm. And is like acting all like weird about it. Then
so weird in front of his sister.
Oh, right. I keep thinking, I'm like, why do they have a locket of them? That's a little weird too. That's what I'm talking about. Like anyway,
there's like a weird undertone here, isn't there?
Everything's fucking weird in this, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's just so much weird sexuality about it. Because then, like, the guy kisses her on the boat, like. You know, this woman's been sexually assaulted like 3 times, like in this movie. Like,
dude, you're right.
Yeah, it's really
like she never acts. Well, I guess when he kisses her on the boat, she kind of like pushes him off. I think hits him in the nuts and pushes him off.
Yeah, she does like, nothing and then reacts in like defense. Like at first, I was like, "That's a little weird." There's like no resistance, and then I'm like, "Oh, she's playing him up." Like, all right, again, weird. But then he just puts her in dress at the end, and I was like, "What the fuck is this about?" Like what? And then like she's skinny dipping and Swamp Thing's just like watching her, and I'm like,
again, I think this all comes back to like these could have been powerful and sort of thought-provoking and maybe even like anger-provoking scenes if we were invested into the clarity of a film that clearly wasn't here. I think
Alan Moore's
I think
Swamp Thing.
I guess
there's a segment where it's supposed to be like Abby Arcane, who's in the second movie, who should have been in this one. But Abby Arcane is like does this weird, like, it's almost like taking acid is how he describes it, and it's these crazy panels, and it gets non-linear, and it's fucking wild, and it's supposed to be, this is what, like, fucking Swamp Thing is like. So they did that. Like,
So before we jump into, I want to talk about the ending here and give it a decent amount of time. Is there any note of yours that you feel we didn't hit on our journey
I
here?
mean, we
Or...
should talk about, like, what was up with, like, the character of Jude. Like,
Okay, sure. Yeah, you've been bringing her up a lot. Let's hear
running
about it.
a gas station by himself.
Sorry,
He's
him.
obviously
My
like
bad.
a 15-year-old kid at the most. Like, he's definitely a child. He's hanging out at the gas station where he apparently works and lives.
There's
Then,
no adults around.
yeah, no one claims him. Then he shows up to find her later, and then, like,
He just
gets,
magically knows how to be at the exact spot in the woods she's in.
oh, at the end, right? Yeah, because
Like on the trail.
I'm gonna find you where. So, like, because he knew where that came out. But, like, what I'm saying is, this character is, like, I mean, he's kind of fridged. He's almost fridged, like, to make you care about, like, Swamp Thing and he's like a plot device to be revived. Because let's not forget, like, the kid died. Like, he just goes, Cable, and then she's like, no, come on, get out of here, and then turns around and he's dead, and you're like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That kid died. He just got dragged out of his fucking gas station in the swamp where he lived alone on a boat with, like, a small doll at the front of it, which was fucking crazy. And, like, he just got killed and then revived by a monster and was like, oh, man, there goes the neighborhood. And I'm like, is that like off-color comedy? Like, what is that? That's so ridiculous.
Dude, such a ridiculous character, man, for him to just be there in the first place, all alone, as a kid, at his age, which is clearly young, for him to just so easily go along with everything that these characters are putting him through and never really question anything. It was just weird. He was a plot device, unfortunately.
He questions things. Like, I think he's funny because in the end, he's like, he doesn't, like, question things. Like, when Swamp Thing shows up, he's just like, oh, fuck. Like, but he already saw Swamp Thing. Like, when they show up to the lab, the burnt out lab, he's like, don't worry. And she's like, I'm not worried. And he was like, oh, good. Cause, like, I am. I thought that was, like, one of the best moments in the movie. I was like, all right, give this kid some character. Like, he's acting all tough. Like, maybe they're going to be like, oh, he's acting all tough because he's 13 running. I keep bringing him lower and lower, but, like, you know, like, he's this kid running a gas station. Like, obviously, his character is more interesting than Swamp Thing. Let that kid become Swamp Thing. That would have been awesome. Like, let
that would have been
become
cool.
Swamp Thing 2020 Jude Swamp Thing 2020.
We could start demanding it. You know, it happened with the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, Donald Glover Spider-Man, Jude Swamp Thing, Reggie
cool.
Swamp Thing.
I wonder, Reggie Batts. I'm looking him up right now, dude, and this might be the only thing he was in.
There's, like, a thing on, like, the DVD or, like, the Blu-ray thing where they did a segment called Hey Jude, and they catch up with him, and he's like 40 something years old, and I was like, what's interesting about that guy?
I'm looking that up.
I went to college.
I'm
I had a son. Like, I got a 401k. You know, it's looking pretty good for Jude. You know.
I'm looking that up right now, dude. He's only been in Swamp Thing 1982 and then Hey Jude with Reggie Batts.
Which is talking about Swamp Thing for the movie. I'm just like a role. He's got mad lines. He's got more lines than Swamp Thing.
He does, yeah. Wow, Reggie Batts, man, the one-hit freaking wonder of his day.
He's like Bobby Bonilla for the Mets. Like, he's just like a guy who showed up, got in while the getting was good, was in a movie that probably a ton of people are going to watch because of that, and then never had to do anything else again and got paid for it.
Gee, that is actually hilarious. Hey Jude with Reggie Batts. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It is two movies what Bobby Bonilla Day is to Mets fans.
And that is the promo clip we will use to get the word out about this one. Now, Luke, let's move into the final ending sequence. I don't even want to give it like a big cinematic term because I think it really fell short of anything like that. But I'll let you take this one because you seem to like this film a little bit more than me. So let's start with some positivity before I destroy it.
Okay, that's fair. I will go to bat for Swamp Thing. So, like, it turned into Labyrinth. Like with David Bowie, but I liked Labyrinth, and I liked that. I was like, yeah, this guy turns into a, like, I thought it was crazy. We're like, oh, this guy turns into a pig and they fight. This is wild. Like, they're running through a dungeon, and like, basically the sequence from like the house onward was
The mansion in the middle of a swamp.
yeah, so out of
Swamp
like,
mansion.
so out of tone. Like, it was just so weird. And then the scene where the
Dude,
dude's choking
that
on
mansion felt like it could have been like Scarface's mansion, just like put into a swamp.
but it was like a completely different movie. Like
It
the
was.
guy's choking, you get like a full minute of him dying, and I was like, oh.
And where are all those people parking in a swamp? And like, where did they all come from?
They
There
all
was
work
no
there.
GPS back then.
He buys them all like dresses. They all work there.
That's
Like,
so weird, dude.
so then he's like, you know, once it got to that point, it basically became like a movie about magic. Like, that guy turned into whatever because his essence turned him into that. Swamp Thing regrew his arm, which was the first time he did anything powerful, like other than, I guess, be like
Kill a few people.
yeah, kill like throw. He threw people. He killed that one guy. He threw everybody else. He killed one guy.
Yeah, that's true.
And could get shot a lot and not get really hurt. Like, then he regrows an arm from like touching the sunlight, which is like, okay, that's cool. That's what I've been waiting for the whole movie. And then they're running through a dungeon with a little person who's dressed up like a monkey. They jump into a bubbling fountain, and they appear somewhere else in what looks like the swamps from Princess Bride. I was really expecting what are they called? The rats of unusual, a rodent of unusual size, something like that.
Beats me, man.
Oh, we should do Princess Bride. It's a great movie. Ooh. But
people
like,
seem to love that film. I have seen it a very long time ago and don't really remember it too well.
you need to watch it again because obviously you haven't seen it. Same thing with The Room. We got to do The Room.
Well, I had a little sister, so I watched it back in the day. But
like, they get in this big monster fight at the end, right? Which I thought was great. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like, if they had thrown away the whole Commando beginning of the movie, I would have honestly been like, Swamp Thing, but it's magic. That sounds cool. Like, okay, sure. Like, inspired by Swamp Thing, and everybody's made out of magic, and he can do like plant magic. I mean, dope. Like, that's what I kind of wanted the whole time. So for me, the ending was like, yes, like Swamp Thing does like superhero stuff and fights a big villain and uses his Swamp Thing powers. But if you're talking about the last like 2 minutes of it where he leaves her, why? Like, what are you doing? Like, what? He's like, no, you have to heal. So you need to forget about me so that you can come back into the swamp for me later.
Right. So stupid.
Back? Like,
just pointless, man. You're right, man. It's just like it was such a, it felt like a waste of time watching this film, to be completely honest with you. Like, for all of the up and downs that it took, I never cared about a single one of them. I really wanted to like this though. Like, I was very excited about it going into it. It really just didn't execute at all in ways that I wanted. And time's limited. I'm dealing with finals. Like, I have a bunch of podcasts I'm working on. I'm writing music as well. And I have a dog I got to give a lot of attention to. So like, when a film from a director who's known to put out quality really disappoints like this, it's hard to just find anything positive to say about it, you know?
I think, like, also Jude just runs up and hugs her as if she's going to adopt him now. Like, this woman's life, like, what is this woman's life going to be like now? Nothing. Like, she's going to write a book about it, and then they exist in the DC universe, so nothing's really going to matter. Everybody's going to be like, this is the one that fucked Swamp Thing. Like, that's what she's going to be known for. And this is the kid she adopted from the swamps. Like,
Reggie Batts, man.
Reggie Batts. Hey, Jude, naughty. Like, shows up, and she writes a book about it. But anyway, I think...
Also, why the Beatles reference for that behind the scenes thing?
Yeah, because he had no last name. He was only Jude. He had no name. Like,
yeah, that is true. They didn't give him a last name. I'm looking at the cast list right now because he doesn't have parents, so we really didn't have a lot.
I mean, he ran a gas station, so his name.
He was doing pretty well for a kid.
When kids didn't have last names, they just named them after whatever their occupation was. So he's Jude Gas Station Attendant.
Damn that.
Jude Attendant.
And I love how he was like he really knew that gas station in and out too. The way he helps her get that cherry cola, he's like, you gotta punch it. Yeah, he delivers like a haymaker to that thing. So
Like,
Jude,
it's working.
Jude, and how green the vial of elixir was. It was like one of those old Power Ranger, Mighty Morphin
Yes,
things. Like
throwing it on the ground, it's like exploding.
those are like the two good parts about this movie to me was how overly green my 480p pixel download made the made that. I rented. First off, I rented. You got to know you're doing something wrong when you're renting a movie of which the highest quality you can get is 480p.
Yeah, you should be buying that movie.
Yes, I mean, I'm sure there's like a 4K remake. They couldn't have gotten the rights to that. YouTube movies. You really screwed us here. Oh man. So
I think it was, unfortunately, when you ask me what my concluding comments are, I'm gonna
let's go into those. Yeah.
Be like, hey man, it was Swamp Thing, 1982, directed by Wes Craven, and it started as Commando and it turned into Labyrinth. There you go. Hey, check it out sometime.
And what would your score be out of 5?
5.
Like stars, you can do like 4 points, or
okay.
you could do like a 4.7. You can get creative if you want.
Okay.
Tell us how you feel.
I want to judge it in 2 halves. I want to give the first half of the movie a 1. Because I didn't like the Rambo headband, or like not knowing who anybody. I thought Alec Holland was the guy that gets killed and gets like kidnapped by the commando guys in the beginning, and I thought the commando guys were the army, and I was like, what's happening? I thought his sister was his wife.
that's he just grabs another woman and kisses her right in front of his wife, and his wife walks in and goes, "Oh, that would be the most ridiculous thing."
Weird. Okay.
I can't believe you thought that.
Movie 1, the second half gets 2.5 because I like watching monsters fight with swords.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of your score. I'm going to go with a 1.5, and here is why. So the only things about this film giving it that 1.5 score, aside from Jude and the shiny green elixir, is the fact that I can really respect how they trudged through a swamp, and that must have been a terrible, terrible experience. And they really worked with what they had. Aside from the silicon-looking tree, I thought all the props and stuff looked like
glowing my tree and phosphorus art.
Yeah, I thought Swamp Thing looked good. Like, I didn't hate it. It's 1982. We're still learning things at this point in time, and it's obviously a B horror movie. So yeah, I can't.
Think if it were to be like as intense with like makeup and cosmetics, like you wouldn't have gotten like half of that movie because the budget would have all went to makeup. Like the reason it was $3 million and they could do all the other stuff they did is because they probably spent like $3,000 on the suit.
Yeah, exactly. They were like pinching pennies, like I said. So if you're going into this,
hop in this rubber diver suit. We're gonna throw some plants on it. We're gonna spray paint you green. If it gets in your mouth, just spit.
I would say it's a setback for Wes Craven if you're going into this looking for a horror master. He hasn't emerged yet. Let's keep in mind that Nightmare on Elm Street didn't come out for another 2 years after this, and then Scream obviously being from the 90s. So
I thought the transformations were scary. I was like, ooh, God, the guy choking. I was like, oh, this is making me really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it had some interesting body horror elements, and especially like thinking of the time and stuff. It wasn't terrible. It's just I think he's done better, and I think it was a step back when you look at how The Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes, which I haven't seen The Hills Have Eyes, but people very highly regard that film, came out the decade before this one. This just seemed like it was a step back. That's all. So 1.5 for me, and it was a good time though, hanging out and chatting with you, Luke. So I love how your set has gotten substantially darker as we've gone on here.
Yeah, I have 5. I went from living in a basement with 1 window in my entire apartment to living in a bedroom with 5 windows. So I don't like turning my lights on if I don't have to. And I hope you've enjoyed watching the sun set onto me.
Yeah, and I think the sun has set on me checking out a Wes Craven film anytime soon as well. With the
our time together, Chris. I so pine for next Halloween when I will discuss terrible horror movies with you. And
hey, man,
when we launch our book club, that's right. Play video. Oh,
I would be very interested in that idea. I'll have to. We'll start talking about it. We'll figure it out. But Luke, one last time, let the people know where they can find you and what it is you have coming up.
You can find me in Boston. Yeah, I am Luciano Ferrara. I play in a band called The Ensuing Disaster. I am a writer. You can find all of my stuff online. You can just search my name, Luciano Ferrara, portfolio. You'll find my things on my journal portfolio. You'll find some Spotify stuff. You can check out a bunch of old music. And I write for a music journalism site called The Alternative, which can be found at Get Alternative and getalternative.com. We are completely crowdfunded by a Patreon. You can sign up for our Patreon and get lots of cool stuff. We give out an album for free every month. If you're, depending on like what kind of subscriber you are, we have this is our third t-shirt design with good old Space Kid. You can get those for free. Like pay shipping, and just come and check out some really cool music. And I hope you like some of my fiction and things like that. And keep watching Chris's channel because he talks about lots of fun stuff. And I'll pop in here and there when the bell tolls and I am summoned from the depths.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely have you back on, man. This was it was fun talking bad movies with you this Halloween season. Guys, once again, I just want to say thank you all for being here. We appreciate all the support and love you've shown us during this Halloween month, as we dubbed it Shocktober, the first official on the channel. We have a lot going forward, including tomorrow night. We're ending Shocktober right here, Halloween night, Halloween 1978 on Halloween. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bring a costume, bring some popcorn. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to have prizes. We're going to have trivia. And it's all happening here on the channel tomorrow night at 9 p.m. as well as tonight at 7:30. We are going live talking about The Mandalorian, starting a weekly recap series where every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live to discuss this week's episode of The Mandalorian. Links to that will be down in the description below. If you're here right now, please hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up button on this video. It would really help get the word out to other potential listeners. And most importantly, turn on that bell so you can hit notifications and never miss when a video is posted. The community is growing, guys. We really appreciate it. In 8 months on YouTube, we just rounded 110 subscribers. It really does mean the world. It's a passion project, but we'd be lying if we said we didn't have aspirations, and it all starts with the support that you guys are showing us. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you again for being here. And Luke, who's now very well.
I am awash in the glory of Shocktober.
I love it, man. I love it. Luke, it was an absolute blast getting to hang with you. You know, when your friends move away, you got to find creative ways to hang out and chill and stuff. And I'm happy that you're enjoying it up there in Boston. And I'm glad you joined us, man.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to lend my services of talking shit about creative content for you.
Well, I mean, you know stuff as a writer and a creator yourself, and it's okay to be critical. It can only make us better, and I don't think we did it in a mean way, except maybe you on QB Halloween, and that's something y'all have to live with.
I loved Swamp Thing. Everything else,
you loved it. You gave it a 2 out of 5 at the highest. So let people sit with that. But guys, as always, watch more effing movies. See ya.
Bye.